Before using the autopilot, the system must be powered on. The autopilot master switch is located on the lower pilot side panel and is labeled Autopilot. Once the autopilot is powered on, you can test it using the Autopilot test button on the FC530 panel. A left click on the test button performs a light test, confirming that all annunciators are working. For a full self-test, right-click and hold the test button for a few seconds. During the test, we'll the indicators for pitch and roll as the system checks each servo. Once both tests are complete, you're all set. On the center pedestal, there's a momentary button called the steer lock button. This button only turns the steering on, and you'll see a green steer on annunciator light up to confirm that steering is enabled. Now this button won't turn it off. To disable the steering, you press the master reset switch, which is the red button on the left side of the pilot's yoke. Holding that red button down will actually keep the steering on as long as you're holding it, which is handy during takeoff if you want to have more control until you reach a certain speed, and then release it. That way the rudder takes over for finer steering at higher speeds. And one last note, this is one of the recommended bindings to set up on your hardware. And we've got a video linked in the description below to show you how to do that. On the left side of the yoke, just above the Read Master Reset button, you'll find a rocker switch that serves two purposes. If you press the small button on the end of the rocker, it controls your elevator and aileron trim. Moving it up or down adjusts the kitch trim, and moving it left or right adjusts the aileron trim. If you just move the larger part of the rocker without pressing the small button, it adjusts the autopilot pitch reference when the autopilot is engaged and no other pitch modes are active. For your hardware setup, we recommend binding the autopilot pitch to the large rocker. Most people already have elevator trim set up on their hardware, so use that for the elevator trim. And for aileron trim, it's often easiest to just use your mouse to click and drag that small button. So that's the best way to handle it. Once the autopilot is powered on and engaged, the primary way to disengage it is by using the master reset switch, which is the red button on the left side of the pilot's yoke. Pressing this switch immediately disengages the autopilot and the yaw damper, and it also inhibits the primary and secondary trim systems, as well as the stick shaker, while it's pressed. Keep in mind this doesn't turn off the autopilot system entirely, it just disconnects those servos. Alternatively, you can also press the ENG button on the autopilot panel to disengage it at any time. Both methods will do the job. When you hold down the maneuver roll pitch switch, you can manually adjust the aircraft's pitch and roll. Once you release the button, the autopilot returns to the original roll mode settings and uses the new pitch settings you've just established. The pitch sync switch is located just below the maneuver switch on the right side of the yoke. This switch affects the flight director only and does not do anything if the autopilot is engaged. When you press the pitch sync switch, it cancels any active pitch mode and synchronizes the flight director command bars to the aircraft's current pitch attitude. If there is no roll mode selected at the time, the flight director will simply turn off, along with the active pitch mode. If a roll mode is selected, like heading mode, then the roll mode remains active, the pitch mode is cleared, and the flight director pitch command is synced to your current pitch. This is useful when hand flying and you want the flight director to match your current pitch before selecting another mode. This section covers the roll modes on the FC530 autopilot, working from left to right across the panel. Heading mode follows the heading bug set on the HSI. When heading mode is engaged, the FC530 autopilot will turn the aircraft to intercept and maintain the selected heading. Half bank mode limits the maximum bank angle commanded by the autopilot. With half bank off, the autopilot can command up to approximately 25 degrees of bank. With half bank on, the maximum bank angle is reduced to about 15 degrees. Nav mode allows the FC530 autopilot to follow a selected navigation source. When nav mode is armed, you'll see an arm indication until the course is intercepted. If the autopilot's following a VOR or ILS signal, nav mode operates in VLOC. Once captured in VLOC mode, it will indicate cap. If it displays LRE, the autopilot is following the GPS. Back course mode is used for localizer back course approaches. It allows the autopilot to track a localizer signal from the reverse direction. Level mode immediately commands wings level. When selected, the FC530 autopilot will roll the aircraft to zero blank and maintain straight and level flight. This section covers the pitch modes on the FC530 autopilot, working from left to right across the panel. Speed mode commands the FC530 autopilot to hold the current airspeed at the moment you engage it. There is no selectable speed bug, so it's important to be in a stable pitch and a stable speed before turning speed mode on. After speed mode is engaged, the autopilot maintains that speed by changing the aircraft's pitch. If you add power, the autopilot will tend to pitch up to hold the same speed. If you reduce power, it will pitch down to hold the same speed. Because of that, make throttle changes smoothly and be aware that the airplane may adjust pitch to maintain the captured speed while you're trying to follow a climb or descent profile. Pressing the speed button again does not disengage it. To exit speed mode, you must select either VS mode or out hold. Vertical speed mode holds the aircraft at the vertical speed that exists at the moment the mode is engaged. This system does not have an adjustable vertical speed control. Because of that, it's important to be in a stable climb or descent before engaging vertical speed mode. If you want to change the vertical speed without turning modes on and off, you can use the maneuver switch. Pressing and holding it temporarily releases the autopilot, allowing you to adjust pitch. When released, the autopilot will capture and hold the new vertical speed. Glide slope mode is used for approach guidance. When selected, glide slope mode will first show arm while it waits to capture the glide slope. You must engage it while the glide slope needle is still above center on the HSI or ADI before it reaches the middle. If you wait until the needle drops below center, it's too late and the autopilot will not capture the glide slope. Once the glide path is intercepted, it transitions to cap. During the final portion of the approach, an FNL indication is displayed to show the aircraft is established on the final glide path. Altitude select arms the FC530 autopilot to capture a pre-selected altitude from the altimeter's target altitude setting. This can be set using the altimeter's knob, labeled ALTCEL. To set the target altitude, use the ALTCEL knob on the pilot's or co-pilot's altimeter to dial in the altitude you want to capture. Altitude select does not control pitch by itself, so you still need to use speed mode, VS mode, or pitch mode to climb or descend toward the selected altitude. As you approach the selected altitude, the autopilot will begin a smooth capture and level off. To avoid overshooting, it's best to keep climb and descent rates reasonable. This aircraft climbs aggressively, and using excessively high vertical speeds can result in overshoots. Keeping rates under about 3,000 feet per minute provides much smoother capture. Altitude hold immediately holds the aircraft at the current altitude. When altitude select captures the target altitude, it automatically transitions into altitude hold. Altitude hold can also be pressed manually at any time to maintain the present altitude. Altitude hold also serves as the go-around annunciator. When the go-around button on the left throttle is pressed, the go-around annunciation will illuminate here. Pressing altitude hold, speed mode, or vertical speed mode will disengage the go-around mode. Avionics overview. The Learjet 35 includes 3 different avionics options you can choose from. The first is the working title GNS 530, which also includes the GNS 430. The second option is the PMS50 GTN 750, paired with the GTN 650. The third option is the TDS GTN 750XI, paired with the GTN 650XI. You can only select one avionics package at a time, and each package includes both a large and a small unit. If you purchase the aircraft through the marketplace or on Xbox, additional documentation, including this comparison chart, is available as a download from our website. Go-around behavior depends on the avionics installed. With the working title GNS 530, go-around does not automatically command a pitch-up attitude. Instead, you must manually pitch the aircraft to about 9 degrees nose up, and then use pitch sync to capture that attitude with the flight director. With the PMS50 and TDS GTN units, pressing the go-around button automatically commands the proper pitch-up guidance on the flight director. Capture altitude in flight director only mode. All 3 avionics options support capturing altitude using the flight director only, with the autopilot disengaged. This works as long as no speed or vertical speed modes are active, allowing the flight director to guide you to the selected altitude while hand flying. Half bank mode. Half bank mode reduces the maximum bank angle commanded by the autopilot from 25 degrees down to 15 degrees. This feature is not supported when using the working title GNS 530, but it is supported with both the PMS50 and TDS GTN avionics. Speed Mach hold mode. All 3 avionics options support speed and Mach hold modes. At higher flight levels, the autopilot transitions from holding indicated airspeed to holding Mach, allowing smoother and more appropriate speed control during high altitude cruise. Arm mode ILS. ILS arming behavior varies by avionics. The working title GNS 530 and PMS50 GTN both allow you to arm the ILS while flying in heading mode. The TDS GTN does not support ILS arming in heading mode and requires an intercept before arming. VOR mode VOR. VOR arming is supported when using the PMS50 GTN avionics. The working title GNS 530 and TDS GTN did not support arming VOR navigation while flying in hedge mode.